Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're doing good. So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I recently posted a video of a Thunderstruck cover by acdc that I did with my friend Dowey. And at the end of that video, I said that I would make another video explaining how I made the cover. I'm not sure people who watch my videos realise that I actually make all the tracks myself. I very rarely use backing tracks provided by other people just to avoid any sort of copyright issues or people claiming that I'm using their material. Even though I'm making the song, I make the song myself. I make all the drums, bass and guitars. I like to spend quite a bit of time mixing them and trying to get them to sound as accurate as I can. So for all the effort that went into making that cover, I thought I'd make a video showing how I made it and showing all the behind the scenes sort of stuff that I don't normally show people, because I find it quite interesting and hopefully some of you guys will find it interesting as well. If any of you guys do any recording yourself, maybe you'll find this quite interesting. If not, hopefully it won't be too boring. So anyway, let's take a look at it. So just going to pull it up here. The first things first is I did it on GarageBand. As you can see, I'm on GarageBand and here's my track. Also, if anybody does do any recording themselves, then please don't judge me too harshly for what looks like a pretty messy track here. It might look like chaos, but I know where everything is here and I'm quite happy with all this. Kind of done my best to label things here. But yeah, don't judge me too harshly. I don't want to spend too long on this as well, so hopefully I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I'm just going to show you how I roughly mix things in terms of panning and let this solo a couple things so you can hear the guitar tones and show you what I made the guitar tones on as well. So let's take a look at the first bit. So at the top I've got all my drum tracks. I've got a separate track for my intro drums, which is all the big build-up-y stuff. Before the song actually kicks in properly, I did all that separately because I like to do all my drums separately because I like to reverb things differently in different parts of the song. Obviously I'm only using GarageBand, I'm quite limited to what I can do, so this is the way that I like to do it there. So for the intro of the song, obviously we've got this lead guitar here. As you can see in the lead guitar, I did everything separately. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, most of this is copy and pasted because that lead guitar, the main lead here, that is pretty much running throughout the entire song. So I didn't really see the point in doing an entire playthrough of just that lead when I can just copy and paste it. Hopefully you won't judge me too harshly for copy and pasting the same lead over and over again all the way through the song. So whilst that lead is going at the same time, I also have the cymbals going at the start, which by themselves sound quite reverby. Pretty boring on its own, but I like to use a nice big reverb on this intro, especially when the thunder drums kick in a little bit later on. Like, I wanted that to sound really big and spacey, so I put a lot of reverb on that. So okay, pretty standard stuff. Oh, by the way, let's have a look at the guitar tone whilst I'm here. I use bias effects for my lead guitar tone. This is the Angus main lead track that I've made here. So I've got a bit of reverb here, just GarageBand's generic reverb plugin, set to 17% in the mix. Got the large quite up and the small quite a lot down, just to, you know, I'd rather have it sound like a large reverb than a small reverb. So I turn the large up, the small down. It's about 50%-ish in the mix, in the small and large mix, and the wet and dry mix is on 17%. So that gives the guitar a bit of reverb, but it's not too noticeable, it's not too prominent in the mix, so check that out again. For my guitar tones, I use bias effects. So let's just load that up now and show you what I've got going on with the guitar tone. I just have a drive pedal, give that a click. But the gain is actually set really low. It's on like 0.4 gain. The tone is just over 12 o'clock, and so is the level. So as you can see, the gain on this is actually really low. I use my Gibson SG to record the lead guitars on this video, and I use my Fender, which is behind my head, to do the rhythms, which I'll get to in a little bit. So for now, yeah, Gibson SG, very low gain sound, a little bit of a boost. Click the boost. By the way, if you can hear a noise outside, there's someone mowing or drilling or something outside, so hopefully this microphone won't be picking up too much of that. So yeah, I've got volume just pushed a little bit there on my treble booster, and even though I've got a splitter here, I'm only using 1 amp. This one is actually not turned on, so as you can see it's greyed out there, so I'm only using 1 amp. I hope that stops soon. I think it might have stopped. Yeah, and again, gain is on 1.23, so the gain is very, very low. Bass is just under 12 o'clock. Mids are quite high. Treble is down. Presence is all the way off, and master is at 12 o'clock. That noise is started again. Hopefully you can't hear that. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I've got going for the lead guitar tone. So if anyone's curious about my guitar tone, how I made it, that's how I did that. And again, by itself, let's just turn that off. This is what you're getting. Clicking back here. When you listen to the actual song, you can really hear the attack of the alternate picking. The plectrum sound is really sort of, you can hear it in the song, so I really wanted to make that obvious in mine, and I think I did quite a good job of getting that guitar pick noise in there. If you listen again, you can really hear that pick attack, so that's what I was going for with that. Also on the track as well, let's have a look at the EQ. I've just got the low end rolled right off. I didn't want it to sort of be too boomy, so I've turned the low end right down. I've turned the highs off a little bit. In between the 2K and the 5K hertz, I've just dipped it down there as well. So that's all I've got going on there. I've not really touched anything on this. This is basically a stock channel on GarageBand. So yeah, got the bias effects, got the reverb, and I got the EQ, and there you go. There's my lead guitar tone for this song. It's the first thing you hear. Okay, let's just play the song and just see what we get to there. Oh yeah, those vocals at the beginning, that's quite interesting. Me and my friend Dowey, who did the main vocals in the video, we basically just sang these vocals into a microphone, just me and him, and we did it 3 times, and we put it all together to make this with a lot of reverb. This is it by itself. It's only me and him, like duplicated 3 times, so technically there's 6 voices there, with quite a lot of reverb to make it sound quite big. But what I then did is then I recorded myself over the top doing the same thing, but in a bit of a whisper tone, because I listened to the actual track, it sounds like there's some sort of whispery, like very quiet voice doing the same sort of thing. So I did this over the top. By the way, it sounds really weird because I've took all the low end off because I wanted them to sit up in the mix a little bit with the other voices. So I've turned the low end off on the whispers. Anyway, I put those together with a lot of reverb, and you get this sort of nice big crowd sort of vocal doing this. Which sounds quite cool. It sounds like there's quite a lot of us. There's only me and Dowey doing that, which is so I'm quite happy with how that turned out. Turn those off. I did the same thing as well for the thunders in the beginning of the song, the thunder. Again, me and Dowey recorded, just me and Dowey in front of the microphone saying thunder repeatedly. We recorded it 3 times and then again layered it up to make it sound like there's more voices than just 2. So let's listen to what that sounds like. Thunder! Thunder! Lots of reverb makes that sound really, really cool. And again, I did a whisper track of the same thing. Thunder! Which sounds like Gollum by itself. It's really weird. But when you put them 2 together, you get this thunder! Thunder! Really cool crowd sort of noise. I think I did pretty well. I think me and Dowey did pretty well. Getting a nice big vocal chant going at the beginning of the song. So when you put all those whispers and the rahs, I think it's called rahs, whatever, with the thunders and the whisper thunders, you kind of have this cool thing going on. Thunder! Rah, rah, rah. Thunder! Rah, rah, rah. Thunder! So you got that pretty much going right all the way through the beginning of the song. Everything there is just at 12 o'clock. Some volumes are a little bit different things. But yeah, that's all the vocals that's going on at the beginning. The guitar and the cymbals that we've got so far. So that's everything going on. So that's pretty much like the main part of the song on the intro. As I said, I'm going to have a quick look at the drums now and just show you what's going on the drums on the intro. By the way, I've got a separate track for the cymbal, snare and the kick and toms. When the song actually kicks in, that's what all this is here. That's just the main drums if I play these now. I like to have different tracks for each thing so I can EQ things a little bit differently. I don't have a good enough drum software to I know there's ones you can get where you can do all separate EQs within the same software, but I don't have anything like that yet. I will get it eventually. So for now, I just have a separate track for each where I can change the volumes, automate things separately, and EQ things differently, and add other plugins onto separate parts, which works pretty good for me now. I think I'm quite happy with my drum sound overall, especially in the snare. If I click my snare, I like to bring it up a little bit here and up a little bit there as well on this particular one to make it sound a bit, it's just a bit more punchy. On the kick and toms, I like to bring it up here as well, because I find bring it up around the 100 hertz range, I find gives it a lot more punch, a lot more kick. Especially you want that on the kick drum. You want it to be really boomy and really thumpy, especially in this song. Obviously it's called Thunder, so if you bring it up here around about the 100, it kind of gets that really cool punch. And then the cymbals as well, lots of reverb. The snare sounds quite reverby by itself, but in the mix you can't really hear all that reverb. It just sort of fills out the spaces nicely. So that's everything I've got going there. The intro drums have a bit more going on. Because I really wanted those thunders to be really big. So there's a little bit more reverb. Is the EQ. EQ's not got the top end on there. I've rolled the top end off a little bit because I wanted them to be a bit boomier. So as you can see, I brought it up there at 100 again for the boom, and I've rolled off the high end so it's not as top endy because I want a bit more low on the intro drums. Here as well, I've also doubled up on the dun dun with a bit of a drum sampler plugin, just a stock one that came with GarageBand, the Dub Smash one, just to make it sound a little bit thicker. If I put that on by itself, you can hear that's all it is. So every Thunder hit has the drum track and a separate drum machine track. So there's all that, which I thought sounded pretty cool. Again, with the cymbals. So far we've got this with the lead guitar and the vocals as well, and those as well. So we're building a nice version of the track right now. The bass is pretty simple. acdc bass is a classic example of less is more, a perfect example. For the most part, this entire song is just one note. It's just a continuous B note. And I've not even used a real bass. This is all programmed, just straight MIDI. I used the Liverpool bass preset on GarageBand. And if I play that by itself, I do have a little bass plugin. It's the CLA bass plugin from Waves on there, which is just a bit of a different EQ. It just makes it sound a little better. I've just used the metal pick version, so it's gone a little bit more rocky. There's no added reverbs or anything like that. There's a little bit of, no, there's not. There's no reverb on this at all, really. There might be some, no reverb or anything like that. So just on its own. Sounds very boring by itself, but it really does the trick when it kicks in. So if I show you all the drums so far, the lead guitar, all the vocals that we had, and you can hear when the bass comes in. It really thickens it up, even though it's a simple bass setting. Sounds pretty good to me. EQ, I've got 0 EQ on the bass. I've not done anything to it. I've just left it as it was because the EQ is on the plugin, obviously, on that. So I don't need to mess about with it too much. What else have we got? Oh yeah, so the next thing to come in is the Malcolm's rhythm guitar, which is this part here. So I'll play that by itself now so you can hear that. And I recorded this on, as I said earlier, actually this intro part here I did on my SG, which sounds like this. It just basically does that throughout the entire intro. Doesn't do anything different for until the song actually kicks in a little bit later on. So I've got that going all the way through, which sounds pretty cool. So let's add that. Actually, before I do that, I'll just show you what I've got going for this tone. EQ wise, again, I brought it up there for a little bit of boom, rolled a little bit of top end off there, but added a bit there, brought it down at the 5K just a little bit. This is all trial and error, by the way. Like for every guitar, I like to EQ things differently, just by listening to it and just seeing what I prefer, and I change it quite a lot throughout the mixing process. But that's what I settled on with this one. Obviously, I'm EQing it for the Gibson SG, which sounds different to the Fender, so that's what I use for that. And on the signal chain here, again, I've got bias effects, but I'm using the Silvertone amp model. They're pretty much the same setup as the other one. Drive really low. The boost pedal is about the same as it was for the other guitar, but the only difference is I'm using this amp instead with these amp settings. Gain just after 12, bass just before 12, mid-ish around 12, treble about 10-2, presence just over 12, and master almost all the way up. So that's what I've got going on for Malcolm's guitar tone for the first part. It does change a little bit later on in the song. I found that guitar tone didn't fit in the song later on, so for now that's what I've got going on there. Oh, and this is panned 50 to the left on GarageBand. So that's what I've got going on for Malcolm's rhythm guitar track. So I've got the intro drums, all the normal drums. Well, I've not even got to them yet, but I'll put them on anyway. Got the fills, which is just like an extra boost on the drums. I've got the bass going on, and we've got the lead guitar, and all these vocals here. So this is everything that you can hear so far. I was really pleased with how this turned out, by the way. Obviously just using GarageBand and bias effects, you know, I'm trying to make it sound like the original track as much as I can, and I don't think I was too far off. Obviously I don't have the same equipment that they used and stuff like that, so with using what I've got, I think I did quite well. This is why I do this. I like to try and make songs sound as close as I can to the original by using whatever I have. In this case, it's GarageBand and bias effects and a guitar, and I have a few plugins as well. Anyway, so that's everything we got there. By this point, the main vocals have kicked in. I'm not going to go through the entire song of the main vocals, but Dowey did a really, really good job on the vocals of this song. So you'll probably hate me for doing this, but I'm going to very quickly show you the vocals just by themselves, so you can hear them. As I mentioned in the last video at the end, we actually figured out that Dowey could do a pretty good Brian Johnson vocal purely by accident, because we were playing a gig, acoustic, and after a few drinks, someone asked us to play some acdc, which isn't the best acoustic, but when we finally got round to trying it, when he was feeling a bit more confident after some drinks, he gave it a go. We played You Shook Me All Night Long, he did the voice, and it was great. It was far better than we expected, so we thought that was unexpected and kind of cool, so maybe sometime we should do an AC/DC cover, and this is it. We did Thunderstruck. Anyway, enough chatting about Dowey's voice. So let's take a look at what's going on Dowey's voice. There's a plugin there that I'm not using, but again, it's quite a lot of reverb. The large right up, the small right down, and this one's on 12% there. That's just the stock reverb in GarageBand, and also I've got a compressor, the CLA vocals called Rockman preset, and I've messed about with it there a little bit. So you can hear it. Thunder! By the way, Dowey's got a really loud voice, so most of this song is just under the peaking level, so that's why the waveform looks absolutely huge like that. We'll zoom in a little bit, it's just underneath the peaking level. So, and the grit was actually his real voice. The grit isn't any plugin later. There might be a little bit of no, there's not really any gain or anything on there. So any grit that you can hear is genuinely in his voice, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's just a bog standard plugin with some compression, well, quite a lot of compression on there, and a lot of reverb. There's a reverb there, and there's another reverb on the actual thing. And this is what it sounds like.
Thunder! Thunder! Thunder!
I think it sounds really cool. By the way, this track, Thunderstruck main vox, is just a doubler to thicken it up a little bit in certain parts. For the most part, it's automated right down on this part, but I'll turn it up in other parts later on to thicken up his vocals. So let's listen to him do an actual proper line. Is it this bit?
I was caught in the middle of a railroad track.
As you can see on that, still nothing different. That's just Dowey's actual voice. Well, he doesn't sound like that when he talks, obviously. That would be hilarious. Yeah, that's just his acdc Brian Johnson style impersonation just by itself. It probably, like I said, he'll hate me for showing you this, but I think it sounds pretty good.
I was caught in the middle of a railroad track. I looked round, and I knew there was no turning back.
So unfortunately, there's no secret how to get your vocalist sounding like Brian Johnson, other than they can either do it or they can't. And Dowey definitely can make his voice sound like that, so that's a plus. That's most of the song anyway. So far, what have we got? We've got the main vocals going on. I'll put the double track live. The R's, the Thunders, the main guitar, and all the drums and the fills and the bass and the intro. This is everything we've got going so far. Anyway, I'm not going to play the entire song. But yeah, that's what's going on there. The next thing to come in is the Angus rhythm guitar, which was recorded on my Fender. I found that the rhythm guitar, again, I was just trying to get the right tone, and I found that I got a better tone on the Fender for the rhythm guitars. This sounds a little bit weird to me because obviously I've got it panned 50 to the right, so it's not coming through my headphones properly, but this is the Angus guitar. I think for this one, I also use bias effects, and as I said, I used the Stratocaster, and rather than use the tread plate, I used the same one that I used on the Malcolm tone. I used the silver tone with pretty similar settings. The drive was turned up a little bit more for the Angus's rhythm guitar than it was for Malcolm's. Malcolm's is a bit more cleaner, and Angus's is turned up to roughly 2.2, 2.3. So everything else is pretty much the same as the other ones. I've got the CLA guitar plug-in on there. I turned the treble right down because the actual amp itself and bias effects was quite trebly. Didn't need the delay, reverb a little bit, compression on 50%, bass, that's just stock preset settings. And then the EQ for that one, I've rolled off the low end a little bit, the top end off quite a bit more, and brought it down at around just before 5K again. So that's what I've got going on for Angus's rhythm guitar throughout the entire song, which sounds like this. So I put both guitars on at the same time. I think it sounds pretty cool. So that's most of the song really, is in terms of settings and everything like that. I've got obviously Angus's rhythm guitar, the lead guitar. Angus is panned to the right, and Malcolm is panned to the left. Malcolm was done on the SG for this first part, and Angus was done on the Strat. But later on in the song, when we get to this part, you can hear a little bit of amp noise at the end. Obviously I did that on the Stratocaster, it's got noisy pickups, so I tried to cut that off a little bit, but it's not too noticeable. It doesn't bother me that much. But in terms of Malcolm's guitar, from here onwards, I used the Stratocaster. As you can hear, that noise is definitely on the Stratocaster track. But when I put those two on together, both of these recorded on the Strat, similar amp tones. The Angus one has just got a bit more gain on it. This is how it sounds. It sounds pretty cool. So we've got let's add everything back with that. As I said, the main drums have kicked in now. So let's listen to this part. this might be one of the best parts of the song because it's really creepy by itself. I remember trying to get Dowey to record this quite a lot of times. It's just a yeah.
Yeah.
By itself, that sounds really creepy and weird, but in the mix of the song, it sounds really cool. Very subtle. Okay, I think the only thing really left to show you is the guitar solo. I literally have an entire track here called Pick Scrape, and the only thing on that entire track is this. A reverby pick scrape. Because on the guitar solo track, I didn't do a pick scrape into it, I did a slide into it. So you can hear the slide blended with the pick scrape. Sounds pretty cool. As you can see, I did the solo in a couple stages. That's not because I can't play it. I did that because I wanted it to sound a certain way in terms of like I wanted the right squeals and pick squeals and stuff like that. Pinch harmonics, that's what I was trying to say. In the right places, so obviously I did it a few times to get those. I wasn't really bothered about getting a normal playthrough of the solo, but this is what it sounds like by itself. All the lead guitars in this song were recorded on the SG. Obviously it's got a bit more output with the humbucking pickups. From the lead guitar solo we then go into the in terms of amp settings and stuff, obviously you can see the EQ that I've got going on the lead guitar thing. Rolled off the low end quite a bit. Pretty much the same sort of stuff. I just brought the highs down quite a lot because I didn't want it to sound too toppy. I wanted it to blend in with the music, kind of cool. And there I've got bias effects again. I think I've got the tread plate on this one. Yeah, I've got the tread plate there, the single one. The drive is turned up quite a lot more, as you can see, for the lead guitar solo. On about 10 past there, 10 past 12. The boost turned up a little bit more. Everything is just basically the same components, just turned up a little bit more. The gain there is on to just 3 o'clock-ish, not 3 o'clock, 3-ish on there, and everything else is nicely set. But for this part of the song, I actually remember that I just rolled the volume down on the actual guitar to get the because I didn't want that to be too loud like this. So I think a nice guitar volume down a bit sounded a little bit better for that. So, oh yeah, I've not shown you the backing vocals as well, yeah, that we've got for this. I've basically got some backing vocals doing the same thing. There's a tiny bit of pitch correction on Dowey there. Just because it's so low, it's always quite hard to pitch yourself right on a low vocal, and we had quite a limited amount of time, so I just thought, you just do the vocal and I'll just sort it out later. It's going to be so low in the mix, it doesn't really matter anyway. His main vocals weren't touched, but the backing vocals, which you can't really hear in the mix, were. But yeah, he's got some backing vocals doing the same things there. This lead guitar, the main lead going throughout the entire song, this one, just goes up and down in volume. In certain parts I want it to be louder than others. It's quite low in the mixture and the main part of the song, like here for example. It is there, it's just quite low, and then like parts like this. As you can see, I bring the lead guitar up a little bit there, then back down again, and then even lower for the solo, because I don't want the two lead guitars to clash. And it goes up a little bit there for that little gap before the end part of the song kicks in. Obviously in that bit as well, you can hear that I've got a fill. Again, the drum machine thing I used to just thicken up the fill a little bit. So all those drums there by the self. I've pretty much shown you everything now in terms of vocals, signal chains and things like that. How the way things are panned. At the top here I've got my tempo track, because right at the end of the song I had to do this in stages on the lead guitar. Because it slows down a little bit at the end. It goes from, what's the main tempo of the song is 133, which I actually googled to find out the exact tempo of the original song was 133. I don't know what it does at the end, but I kind of just made my own thing up where it goes from 133 down to 124, 1 to 116, 109, and ends on 102. So the end slows down nicely like that. And those little hits at the end, I think they come in a little bit sooner than on the actual bar itself. Like there, they were just a little bit before it, so that's why I recorded them there and had to put them in separately because I got it wrong when I was recording it. Like that. But that's pretty much the song. I don't think there's anything I've missed. Obviously got all these lead guitar parts at the end. Which I just listened to the song and just tried to mimic what he was doing. I didn't actually look at any tab for any of this. I just listened to it and tried to figure out as close as possible as, you know, how I could replicate certain things. Yeah, and that's absolutely everything for the song in terms of guitar tones. That's how I made it. I've got the master track at the bottom. I used the factory modern preset. I turned the low end off a little bit. I could probably have turned it off a little bit more. It might still be a little bit too bassy, but I don't mind. I brought it up a little bit there, and I've rolled just a little bit of the top end off there and brought it down just around 2K. Again, that's what I was just playing about with. I listened to it on various platforms, from my speakers to my headphones, in my car, and that's the EQ that I settled on with that. And I've got just a compressor on the signal chain and that output there on the master track. That's literally it. That's everything. Anyway, guys, my camera has just weirdly started flashing at me now, so I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed this little look at how I made my Thunderstruck cover with Dowey, in terms of everything that I use, plugins, guitar tones, everything like that. If you got any questions, leave them below. If you haven't checked out the original song, our cover, then I'll leave a link to that below, so please click that and give that a check out. If you like this video, please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, because I'm hopefully going to be making more videos like this where I show how I make things. So if you're interested in that, then subscribe to see more. And hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.